December 2nd, 2025 meeting to order of the City of Indianola City Council. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Rabe? Dalby?
Here.
Armstrong?
Here.
Beach?
Here.
Sones?
Present.
Lane?
Here.
Mayor Richardson?
Present. We have in front of us then a opportunity for some public comment. We'll limit comments to about 3 minutes here. So I think, Mike, did you want to say something tonight? Go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Yes.
Mike May, 1216 East Franklin, Iowa. I'm speaking to agenda item 8A1, new business, resolution authorizing the City of Indianola to enter into a contract for independent contractor professional services. Last March, I posed a public safety question to the council. What does a post-Kyakota City of Indianola look like? I quickly became more specific. What does a post-Kyakota Indianola look like to the Indianola Police Force? Answers to the public safety question have emerged over the past several months in terms of new duties to the police department and the proposed, draft ARL contract with Des Moines. The $101,000 proposed consulting contract, if I'm reading it correctly, and I may not be, may analyze and answer the public safety question presented by the shift of animal control duties to the Indianola Police Force. Per the city manager's memo, this initiative is designed to deliver a data-rich, best practice performed assessment that supports strategic decision-making and long-term service sustainability. I assume the reference to strategic decision-making and long-term service sustainability is in response to your fourth strategic priority, which is public safety. I'm encouraged that the proposed consulting contract promises a major component, quote, a focus on the balancing of service demands and the workloads of the local budget. The budget controls the public safety issue. The budget reminds us all of the fiscal situation facing the city due to loss of animal control. As the mayor cogently stated in March, quote, House File 718, passed almost 2 years ago and now signed into law by the governor, is severely affecting our ability to raise revenue to meet the needs of all our citizens. Just how severe House File 718 impacted the city's ability to raise revenues to meet the needs of all our citizens may be identified in the proposed contract. If so, it will be tax dollars well spent for two reasons. One, the city's strategic decision-making, and two, compilation of data showing the legislature and our legislators the consequences of House File 718. I look forward to this discussion later this evening.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the comments. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak? Public comment time? Seeing none, we move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that anybody would pull from the consent agenda?
Yes. I would like to pull item G.
Okay. Item G, anything else? Take a motion for anything but item G from the consent.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Jake, do you want to run through things quickly here?
Yep. Item D1, consideration of the issuance of a refuse renewal hauling permit for TRM. The city of Indianola is an open community for collections, allowing multiple haulers to operate within the community. Each hauler must comply with Chapter 106 of the City of Indianola's Code of Ordinances. Code requires refuse haulers to obtain the annual license from the city. The fee is $150 per packer and $100 for any other type of equipment operated. TRM pays the city a total of $1,150 per year. All of their paperwork is in order. Item E, second consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 25 of the Indianola Municipal Code, Utility Board of Trustees. The update will codify a requirement for a utility board trustee member to have at least one service provided by Indianola Municipal Utilities. IMU General Manager Chris Desplanks has been engaged and is supportive of the code update. No concerns have been received from current IMU Board of Trustees. The council has reviewed the code update and drafted the ordinance. Item F, resolution authorizing an agreement for medical director services. Iowa code requires emergency medical services to operate under the medical direction of a physician. The resolution would renew the agreement for medical director services for another year with Dr. Gabe Lancaster. This would be at the same compensation level of last year's agreement. Item H, receive and file the fiscal year 2027 budget calendar. Work on the FY 27 budget will begin in October. Staff will be entering and reviewing information through October and November. Draft departmental budgets will be due on December 1st. Department budget meetings will be held within the month of December. Initial budget will be developed in January to coincide with receiving valuation data from Warren County. Council discussion and budget workshops will be held in February 2026. 2 public hearings regarding the budget will be held in April 2026. On April 20th, the council will adopt the final budget, the FY 27 fee schedule, and the capital improvement plan. State law requires the budget to be filed by April 30th, 2026. Item I, consideration of approval of a Home-Base Iowa Initiative application for Gregory Jenkins, and authorization of a handwritten warrant in the amount of $1,500. A veteran who was discharged under honorable conditions according to Chapter 35.1 Code of Iowa and had Title 10 active service duty for 90 days is eligible for this benefit. All paperwork is in order for approval of Gregory Jenkins. And then resolution J, resolution approving salaries. This would be for new hires, promotions, and then a step increase for the individual in the collective bargaining unit.
One more time, any other questions for Jake or anyone else?
I do have a question on item F. I noticed in the resolution that it doesn't have the $4,500 for his liability insurance. But it does have the contracted amount.
Does it say 19.5? Sorry, I'm pulling it up right now.
It does say 19.5, and I
Yeah,
believe the
that's the
19.5
full
includes
amount.
the
That's the full
4,500.
amount, okay.
Any other questions?
It was split out in the agreement, so I wasn't sure if we should stay consistent. Thank you.
Hearing no other questions, clerk call the roll, please.
Councilmember Rabe? Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Motion carries 6-0. Item G, I'll take a motion in a second. Does anyone mind to make a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion in a second, okay, discussion? Melissa, you got a question on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to have a conversation around this. We have been pushing more fees on to those who plan events for our community and do so to bring economic development and vitality for our small businesses, pouring time and resources and money into these events and trying to do so to keep them at low cost or no cost in a lot of cases to our community members. And every time we implement another fee, it's something that they have to take on. And most of these organizations are operating on a very thin budget. And I know this is only $50, but it's $50 more that they have to raise. And so I wonder if council would support allowing the organizations to take on the cleaning of the restrooms in lieu of the $50 cleaning expense. They clean up city streets and leave them in good order. It's a lot of the same organizations, host events that would be using the restrooms. So we can even give them an option, either pay the $50 to clean the restroom or clean the restroom themselves. And if they don't do it to our satisfaction, then we would have their security deposit.
The way I look at it is the $60 is for water, it's for sewage, it's for wear and tear on doors, toilets, faucets, plus the cleaning. So that's kind of how I view it. think it's great that we're opening it up to the public, but I think there should be a charge for those facilities.
And it says they may rent, they don't have to if they wanna have an event. I mean, if they think it's cost prohibitive. I don't know.
They have to have restroom facilities for these events. For example, Home for the Holidays last year brought 3,000 people to our downtown square. Those events don't happen without a lot of time and effort, and when they bring that many people to our square, those are people who are spending money, and the merchants that are open, and with all of the vendors who choose to set up around our square. And so that's Main Street. It's money that Main Street's gonna have to find a sponsor for, or raise more money to cover. They are just on the heels of purchasing barricades because we've implemented that fee.
Mayor and council, if I may, this was developed in communication with Indianola Main Street, Executive Director Erica Roberts. She had no issue expressed to me about paying a fee for having this service. We pretty much developed this specifically in mind for Wine, Witches, and Brews and Home for the Holidays. Ultimately, again, I don't want to speak too much on her behalf, but she saw this as a positive and a benefit as opposed to having to bring in portable toilets, portable restrooms, which would likely come at a higher expense than this and would not have the benefit of being located indoors.
I understand they want to use the restrooms, and yes, it's a great opportunity for them. I heard from a board member that they really do not want to pay the expense.
Well, one of the consequences of our tight budgets, as Mr. May brought up in his public comments here, is the fact that we've been having to pass costs on to the users, and that's one of the things that we really people haven't seen a lot of at this point in time. And I think if I'm reading things correctly here in the memo, there's still a budget impact to that. Expenses anywhere from $2,700 to $2,900, and then we'll assess a $50 cleaning fee but those are our costs that we're picking up, if I'm reading that correctly. So we are kind of have a little bit of skin in the game there, I guess, from that perspective. And listen, they raised almost $20,000 in their fundraiser. I think 3 or 4 times or 5 times a year, $60 a shot, they can probably afford that.
I used Main Street as an example, but it affects the chamber and everyone else that puts on events downtown and may need to use the restrooms.
So for events like the costume party, trunk or treat, that's on like the list of like the things like we just taking that out of like Parks and Rec's budget. Is that where that's going to come from? If they were wanting to use the restroom for, because I think Parks and Rec does the children's Halloween costume party. So, I mean, Melissa brings up a good point of events bringing revenue to the square, dump millions of dollars into it. I get trying to pass on the costs, but then I look and we have like events that are city driven. And so, I mean, that's, we can sit here and say, well, that'd be Doug Byland's budget, but that's really the taxpayers' budget at that point.
But if,
That they already paid for to buy the building. Right, it's taxpayer-owned building,
Right.
so I have to pay more to go take a leak.
And that's the point, like, we built this, we spent all this money, invested this money to make people want to come downtown, and we don't have public restroom facilities.
And when we purchased the building, we never spoke about charging a fee for use of the bathroom either. It was always that it would be opened up as a public restroom for events. Fees were never even mentioned.
But are there requirements right now for any of the events that are down there that they have to have restroom facilities?
I don't think we're gonna get families to come downtown if we don't have a restroom facility.
I would agree, but I think the point that I heard Jake state is, and said that Erica concurred, this is a lot less expensive than having to get a lineup of Kaibos. And I'm guessing the vast majority of people would much prefer going in there.
I don't know the
With
answer.
the wear and tear on it, I was surprised it was that low personally.
We've been getting families to come downtown for decades without a public restroom. So I mean, I don't think that's a valid point that we're not gonna get families to come down if there's not a restroom facility.
I don't think anybody said they weren't gonna come. I think
That's what Melissa just
I
said.
think she just said maybe it's ridiculous that we have to pay. I mean, I don't wanna put words in Melissa's mouth, but what I'm hearing is, isn't it kind of ridiculous that the taxpayers would have to then pay for taxpayer-driven events to go to the bathroom in a taxpayer-owned building?
So the question becomes, Doug or Jake, I'm assuming that on city events, there wouldn't be additional cost. Are we looking at that? To the particular group. Doug, you want to answer that question?
So for the children's costume party and parade, we get sponsors to pay for whichever facility we have. Normally,
Okay.
we would get a portable one and pay for those.
Sure.
So it's cost of a sponsorship of the event.
So that doesn't come off the taxpayers then. So you're a situation here where we're trying to open it up and provide an opportunity, I think, for a better opportunity than what's been done in the past, because I don't know, there are limited restrooms in some of the restaurants and other places too during the hours of use, and I see this as a real opportunity then to make it a little easier, to Bob's point. But again, I'm gonna go back to the point that, there's a lot of other fees that we've collected here too, and I think that we have to be, cognizant of where we're going and what we're doing, and if Main Street, if Erica said that she had no problems with that, then I guess I don't know what the argument here is.
Mayor and council, if I may, to some of the comments that have been brought up, the taxpayer versus the user, I guess I would make a little bit of a distinction is that with a fee, it is the user that pays it. Regardless, there's gonna be a fee to clean these restrooms. And if we don't have a fee on it, that's just gonna come out of the city's general fund, right? So it's not if, I guess the point being is if they clean it themselves, but then they're using their time, instead of their money. But at the end of the day, if these restrooms need to be cleaned and we don't charge a fee for it, then it's gonna come out of the city's general fund regardless, which is gonna be on the taxpayer. So there is going to always be a fee for cleaning these restrooms unless they do it themselves. And if we don't charge that fee, the taxpayer is gonna pay that anyway.
My point was, can we give them the option to clean it themselves in lieu of the fee? Because what it says here is the $50 is a cleaning fee. It doesn't say that it's anything to do with maintenance or anything else. It's, the $50 is for a cleaning fee.
Well, actually, in the resolution, it says it's a $60 rental fee and a $50 security deposit. So to me, why not just make it $110 security deposit? If they clean it, then they get the security deposit back. If they don't, then that cleaning fee comes out.
I think the challenge that we're gonna run into, and it's again, however far we wanna go into this, who's gonna provide them the cleaning supplies? Are they gonna bring their own, or are we gonna provide it for them? And then ultimately, if it's at our discretion, it's all the security deposit, who's gonna be the judge on if it's clean enough or not clean enough? And those are all things we can certainly do and rabbit holes we can go down. But to me, it's cleaner, no pun intended, to just charge them the small fee, then it's cleaned by our cleaning service. We'll know it'll be at a high standard and be in good condition.
I don't know, I've rented a lot of venues and they handle it almost every venue I've rented leaves it up to the person renting the venue to clean up after themselves. Leave it the way you found it is basically how they word it, and if you don't, it comes out of your security deposit.
We have a motion on the table and a second. Is there any further discussion? And if you choose, if we don't pass this, then Jake, what's our next step?
I think the motion on the table is to pass it in the affirmative.
Right.
If we don't pass it, I would not add the language into policy to allow us to rent out the facility. So essentially, we would have no mechanism to rent the facility. If the majority were to refuse it, I guess my interpretation would be is the desire would be to bring it back with no fee essentially, or at the option for them to clean it themselves, which we could do at a future meeting. I guess the question probably for legal is if they don't pass it, or can they amend it to change the fee on the fly, or would it be better off to bring it back for consideration at another meeting?
It would probably be better off to bring it back at the consideration of another meeting so that we can modify the resolution. In a succinct manner, in part given the issues that you raised, if we're going to let them clean it themselves, how are we going to address that?
And how long would that take?
Bring it back at the next meeting?
It would be at the next meeting.
I would assume so. It'd be minor changes.
That would still allow us to get it done before Wine Witches and Brews, which is the
How many people,
coming.
council members, how many people have contacted you on this issue?
0.
I had a board member contact me.
I had one Main Street board member contact me, was in favor of it,
In favor of it?
and that was not Erica.
Wine Witches and Brews has already reached out and asked if they can rent the space, and we were planning on moving forward with that as soon as we could, so.
So we've had two people reach out on this issue.
My question was when they reached out to rent the space or use the space, was this already a policy that was planned to be on our agenda?
Yes, they said, I read the council packet, we would like to rent that.
So the first big event will be down there. I had no problem with it.
Correct.
Hearing no further discussion, clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilmember Rabe? Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Stones?
No,
Lane?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-1. Thank you. We'll move on to consideration of appointment on the council reports here. Consideration of reappointment of Carrie Witterman, Planning and Zoning Commission for a term beginning July 1, 2025 and ending July 1, 2030. Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilmember Beach?
Aye.
Stones?
aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Rabe? Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Motion carries 6-0. On to mayor's reports. We have an approval of the appointment of Andrea Carlson to the Library Board of Trustees to fill a vacant term until July 1, 2028. Motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Stones?
No,
Lane?
Aye.
Rabe? Dalby?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-1. All right, mayor's community update. tomorrow morning, we meet with the Mayor's Youth Council for the actual first meeting of the year. We will do introductions and then start getting into some housekeeping issues. If anyone has a freshman that would like to apply for the Mayor's Youth Council, I believe they're taking applications now, so that information can be had through, I believe, our website. If not, we'll check on that and make sure that happens. I can't remember when those have to be due. I think they're not very.
September 12th, I think.
Thank you. I think you're right on that.
I think it's what the form said.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. And so please get those in if you're interested. We had a great event at Quick Star. I don't know how many people were there, but there was a bunch. And this is their 900th store they've opened. I suggested maybe they took a look at 901 on the west side of town.
He did say that,
Huh?
he did say they're looking at 2 properties.
Awesome. I didn't get a chance to talk to him about that. He got kind of busy, but that's awesome. There were a lot of speakers. I gave a few comments, and I think it's a great opportunity for us to look at a number of different things. They gave 2 donations to the city, one to the fire department, one to the police department. I believe both were for $1,000. Is that right? Yes, sir. Okay. And thank you to them for that, doing that. And Main Street fundraiser had a great turnout. That was about a week ago Thursday. At an annual dinner and a fundraiser, they neared their fundraising goal. They had a $20,000 goal. I think they raised just shy of $19,000. Great evening and a great event. Simpson College volleyball game at home Tuesday and this week Tuesday, tonight, and Friday. I think we might miss that one. But Friday night, football against Augustana, Illinois on Saturday at 6 p.m. Congratulations, high school football team on their victory over Norwalk on Friday. Good luck to them on this Friday against Carlisle. Cross country boys teams and boys golf, girls volleyball, swimming, tennis, they all compete this week as well. Do you have a cross country runner?
Yep, they are done now.
Oh, okay. Sorry
I
about
got
that.
results like right when
Oh,
I
good.
started, so.
How'd we do?
I don't know about us, I just know.
Oh, okay. Well, we did pretty well there.
The varsity boys sat, so
Okay.
we ran all of the JVs.
All righty. After serving more than 3 decades, we have Brian Shear will retire as chief of police Monday. His last day is Monday, September 15th. We will celebrate Chief Shear on Friday, September 12th from 3:30 to 5 at the Indianola Activity Center. Please put that on your calendar. Try to attend. West Hill Brewery is hosting Bags Tournament September 13th to raise awareness and funds for Huntington's disease. We approved this event at our last meeting. And Helping Hand is hosting the Run and Jam event on Somerset Trail on Saturday. So those of you that use the trail, kind of be aware of that. We also approved that meeting as well. A number of staff and myself met Senator Grassley at Herschel Manufacturing on Friday, was it Thursday? Friday morning. Yep. And I know that Amy covered the meeting pretty well. One thing I did do with Senator Grassley and wanted to make sure publicly mention it, Senator Grassley is a very big supporter of the TRIO grants. Simpson College, 40% of their students use TRIO grants. We passed a resolution, if you remember, probably a month and a half ago, somewhere in that neighborhood. Sent letters out to all members of the congressional staff, the 4 members of the House of Representatives and the 2 senators. I want to make a point to let Senator Grassley know that he was one of the few that actually sent a response in support of the program and is also part of a group of senators that meet on that issue regularly to make sure that it stays in the budget. And so I thanked him publicly for that because I think that's a great benefit for not only Simpson College, but all students trying to make it through college. But that meeting was very well attended from city staff and also from folks around the area, and I thought it was a great meeting. With that, we'll wrap up the mayor's report, and let's move on then to new business, resolution authorizing the city of Indianola, Iowa.
I'm really sorry. I skipped council reports. Can I throw a plug in for one thing?
Yeah, go right ahead.
SRPTA has the long-range planning survey out, and the deadline is the 14th to take it.
Okay,
The public, it's out on our social media for the public to take that survey,
okay,
and it's important for the planning purposes of our roadways.
okay. Yes, especially, yeah, the turning lanes and things that we want to talk about. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
So-
Anything else with that?
Jump out and take it, it's just a few minutes of your time.
Okay, let's move
Thank
on. You're welcome. We're gonna do the resolution authorizing the City of Indianola to enter into a contract of independent contractor professional services of a Center for Public Safety Management LLC. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Jake, is this yours?
It is. The comprehensive analysis of police, fire, and EMS services would be completed in partnership with the Center for Public Safety Management, also known as CPSM, which is the exclusive provider of public safety technical assistance for the International City County Management Association, ICMA, a lot of acronyms to start us off. The project will be led by a project manager, a police team leader, a fire team leader, a data team leader, and then supporting subject matter experts with significant experience in their relative fields. The analysis would rely heavily on data-driven approach, focusing on efficiency, effectiveness, and safety of the community. The analysis would take up to 6 months and result in a comprehensive report that includes operational and workload analysis across stations, equipment, and personnel, staffing and deployment recommendations for all operational and support functions, community risk assessment and service demand evaluation, review of organizational structure, culture, and alignment with best practices, benchmarking against peer communities, and national standards. The comprehensive analysis would cost right around $100,000 and would be funded primarily through operational savings, and the rest would be made up by reserves. This amount would be covered within the FY26 budget as adopted and would not require the use of any additional reserves that have already been approved. The comprehensive analysis of police, fire, and EMS aligns with the top priority City Council gave to the City Manager of creating an organization-wide staffing plan. The timing of the analysis is advantageous to provide support for public safety leadership, which will include that of a new police chief. The timing would also allow for any efficiency opportunities to be considered and incorporated as part of the FY27 budget process. As facility improvements are another priority on the horizon, identifying staffing levels and needs will help inform building facilities that meet today's needs as well as the needs of the future. Additionally, public safety expenses account for about 55% or $8 million of the adopted FY26 general fund budget. The one-time investment of $100,000 represents the equivalent of approximately 1.25% of the city's annual public safety operating budget, which this expense would support operational efficiency, effectiveness, and safety for the responders as well as community. In consideration of the next item on the agenda, the MGT and CPSM studies would provide a comprehensive organization-wide overview of staffing needs, operational efficiency, and strategic alignment. Staff recommends approval of the resolution. I'd be happy to answer any questions. We also have Tom from CPSM on Teams who would serve as our project leader to answer any questions that may be more specific to the comprehensive analysis.
Council questions?
So what goes into selecting the peer communities?
Maybe I'll let Tom talk a little bit about that.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Tom. You're on mute. Ah, there we are. Yeah.
Consortium is collecting,
Councilmember Dalby, if I may too, and this kind of feeds into part of the discussion on the next item, but with our past partnerships with MGT, they've took a comprehensive look at our peer communities in our surrounding region. They put a pretty detailed scoring matrix together that considered such indicators as population size, median household income, total assessed valuation, property tax revenue, overall expenditures, and geographic proximity to Indianola. So they would recommend that our peers in this region, as best comparisons, would be 6, and that would be Altoona, Pella, Newton, Pleasant Hill, Grimes, and Norwalk, which we would certainly share that information with CPSM to see if they would be appropriate peers for them to consider in this portion of the study as well.
Thank you.
So Jake, I've got a question for you. How are we going to ensure that if we do this, that we implement the results correctly? I know we maybe didn't perfectly do the last one. And so how are we going to avoid that mistake? And then how do we then make sure anybody new that comes up here is aware of what the study would show, so that when they're making their decisions, they're privy to the information?
Absolutely. 2 great questions, Councilmember Armstrong. The first part of that is, how do we ensure that we implement this study correctly? One of the things, and Tom can certainly just nod on this if you'd like, but in our early conversations with Tom, and one of the reasons I'm bringing forward and recommending CPSM is part of their relationship with the International City County Management Association. They've got a strong commitment to the communities that they're serving as well. Everyone, including Tom and everyone on his team. Tom is a retired city manager. He's also had an extensive career in public safety. On the police and fire side, they're all current or retired chiefs, deputy chiefs, things of that nature. So they're a bunch of really public service-minded individuals. So with that comes a level of ongoing care at no cost, of course, within reason. So if we ever had a question, to go back to CPSM and say, this was your recommendation, can you give us some guidance on what this looks like, or how a peer community may have implemented that? That's a relationship and ongoing support that we're gonna have in perpetuity, as my conversations of Tom have alluded. If we ever wanted to do a deep dive and do another specific study in a specific area, of course, that would come at an additional expense. But at a high level, CPSM as an organization will continue to support the city of Indianola and ensure that we are implementing the results of the studies correctly. If down the road there's ever a question about a recommendation or interpretation, we always have them to go back to and say, can you clarify this for us? And can you maybe clarify it in a way that, how we can interpret it. As far as the awareness of the results, part of the fee does include a final presentation. We can always record that final presentation, so that is something that can always live on in perpetuity. I would always, of course, during my tenure, I always recommend and encourage and probably require that as we make future public safety decisions, we could always incorporate these studies as an attachment, or pull out the relevant pieces of the study that are supportive of the decisions that we would make in the future. I make no qualms, and I'm sure Tom would agree, this is a significant investment that we would really be making in the personnel of this organization. And this is not one of those studies that we would just allow to live on the shelf and collect dust. This would be utilized to make real world decisions in our future. And it's something that we would rely on and incorporate in that decision making process. Tom, anything you want to add to that?
Jake, and Tom too, timeline on this, back to Councilmember Armstrong's question about new members coming on the council or something, if we're in that situation. Can you run the timeline out here and so we can kind of answer that question? I think it does a pretty good job of that, so.
Yeah, within the proposal, there's a pretty detailed timeline. Really, at minimum, this study would take about 4 months. Anywhere from 4 to 6 months is kind of the timeline. So we would be looking at completing this in early 2026, first quarter 2026, as we would have this finalized and rolling out for a final presentation. Kind of some of the high points, of course, is your standardized kickoff meeting, and then comes a heavy data dump from us, if you will, where we have to feed CAD, computer-aided dispatch information, and a bunch of information from the fire department as well. We send that all to Tom and their team. They kind of go through and they validate that. They utilize that to put together a data technical report, which then they kick back to us to review and make sure that we find it as accurate and accurately reflects what we're seeing here on the ground here in Indianola. Once they have that data technical report done, that kind of serves as their baseline and kind of helps give them an overall profile of the community, at least with that data perspective. Then Tom and members, the subject leaders or the team leaders, as well as several other subject matter experts would physically come to Indianola. They would do ride-alongs with our police department. They would interview key staff and stakeholders. They would attend roll call. They would just kind of integrate themselves into the department for a few day period to make sure that what they're seeing here is aligning with what the data is telling them. It also helps inform them of the community risk assessment and some of the other features of this very detailed analysis. They'll go back and kind of integrate the data technical report with that operation assessment to put together that finalized report for us, which will be very detailed. I know Tom had worked previously in the city of West Des Moines. I think they probably was about in the 50 to 60 recommendation range for that department. So I would imagine something similar for us. We're probably looking in the 40 to 60 plus recommendations that they would be providing back as part of this longer summary. Tom, anything you want to add to that? One thing I would add to that, and Tom, feel free to jump in. I would view these recommendations kind of coming to us in 3 different buckets. One bucket is going to be efficiency improvements that are likely going to come with some level of cost savings. Those are probably some of our low-hanging fruit most often than not. There'll be a number of other recommendations that are essentially cost neutral. As Tom said, they look at everything from policy to procedure to operational protocol. So outside of staff time, it doesn't take much to update a policy, right? So that's kind of those cost neutral items. And I would also expect that there are going to be some things that would cost money, right, at the end of the day, to change pieces of equipment or different ways that we do things, that different improvements and upgrades that would have cost implications to them. To me, those are things that would help inform our future budget cycles and how we can continue to add whatever those recommendations may be that provide benefits to public safety.
I was just gonna say, is it fair to say that there'll also be recommendations, or there'll be things that you'll point out of, I mean, obviously, you just don't look at the good, the bad, but you also, the bad and the ugly, but you look at the good as well, I'm guessing, is that's also what we do well and what we should continue to do well? Melissa, you had a question?
Yeah, when you come on site, what does that look like? How much time are you spending? And how many people are you bringing here? Thank you. And I know you do a presentation, but other than that, what kind of documentation comes out of this that's left for us? And is that at the process level? Or are you just calling out the different areas that Jake mentioned, like cost savings and opportunities for improvements, or mentioning the things that we do well currently and we want to keep those? Thank you.
Josh, you're online. Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you.
So my biggest concern is, I mean, you said it yourself, Steve, just a little bit ago when we were discussing the fee for the rental of the bathrooms. The budget has caused us to have to start to pass on some of these expenses to the taxpayers. And I have a real concern with it being $100 and some $1,000 to do this study. When previous studies have not been followed through with in the past. And I'm sure at the time those, no offense to you, Jake, those city managers also sat here and said, we're gonna implement, we're gonna change, we're gonna do this. And things didn't change and things didn't get implemented, or at least not in the way they should have been. I don't think that our budget is in a place where we are being fiscally responsible by pushing this forward right now. I think something like this could be beneficial in the future. I just don't think that now is the time for that.
Jake, can you go over again how this would be paid for?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, ultimately, we would not be taking any further into reserves as was already approved within the FY '26 budget. The vast majority of this study, frankly, will be paid for by staff savings at this point. If we want to be more specific, we dropped the deputy city manager title within our community and economic development director position. So bringing that position back without the deputy city manager title, that came with a significant savings in terms of salary and benefits because we reduced the duties and made it more focused on community and economic development. So taking out that deputy city manager component had some salary and benefit savings there. Additionally, we haven't had the community development director we won't have them for 2.5 months. So in addition to bringing them in at a lower salary, we also will have 2.5 months of those salary savings, which of course will be ongoing savings, we'll have to pay the community development director, of course, full year salary, as they're in position. But by not having that deputy city manager component, those will be ongoing savings. So we're taking advantage of those ongoing savings and one-time savings to help fund this. And again, I haven't done all the calculations. That will pay for the the majority of both of these studies. Another element to consider is just again within the police department itself, they're currently down 2 officers for at least 2 months of this year, so there are going to be salary and benefit savings associated with that. We've not done a specific calculation on those savings, but I know where the savings are for the community development portion of it. With those officer salary savings, I would say we're very close to funding these studies entirely.
Well, then my question would be is why, well, actually, I have 2 things to comment on that. So we're sitting here looking at having an interim chief for a while. For me, I think it would be more beneficial if we waited until we had a new permanent chief in place prior to doing a study like this. Or we're gonna be throwing him a giant mess to clean up, possibly, depending on what these results show. Who knows? My other thing is, why not reinvest those same savings into economic development to drive more income for our future budgets?
2 comments to that. The turnover at the chief position is certainly something that Tom and I had talked about, and would take maybe a little bit different approach in saying that now is a great time to do the study, because ultimately this lays out a plan, a strategic approach for the incoming chief. So it'll give them an amazingly in-depth snapshot of the department that they're inheriting at that point. It'll be a great resource for them for information, and it also helps guide them likely on a 3+ year journey of strategic steps to take to drive the department forward, as well as, of course, intertwine their own experiences. So to me, I would view the timing actually as advantageous to be able to pair this and hand this off to an incoming chief in that time. As far as strategic investments in economic development, there's certainly we'd have to identify specific opportunities, of course, how those dollars could be used. And there may be certainly, of course, value to that. I think the key that I would go back to in this is that this is a one-time expense. There's no ongoing operational impact or obligation in the future. So I understand it is an investment, no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, there is no ongoing obligation to this. And frankly, the goal, or one of the goals of this, is to make us more efficient and effective in the future to help address some of our budgetary challenges that we're currently facing.
To that point, Jake, the last point you made, there's no ongoing. What if it comes back and says we need to add to staff? Are we prepared for that? And I'm thinking on the fire EMS side, based on how much we use mutual aid.
We have to be prepared for that. I, again, will just reiterate, this is a data-driven approach, right? There's no angle to it. We let the data show us the way, if you will, right? I think as Tom puts in their proposal, though, this has to also take into account the budgets that we have available to us, right? And I'll go back to my earlier point of the 3 pots of recommendations, right? So there will be the cost savings, there will be the neutral, and there will be likely some that do say there will be additional cost. And to me, those additional costs would help inform us of future operational changes or opportunities within the upcoming budget cycles. We certainly have, putting our head in the sand is not an option at the end of the day. We need to have our eyes wide open, and we want to have the information available to us and know our needs so that when opportunities arise, we're able to address and meet those.
I guess my concern would be, like, you mentioned fire or EMS needing more staffing.
Potentially.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
We know that we rely
We're
heavily on mutual aid. And so they'll be taking a look at all of that and come back and tell us what they
Right.
recommend.
And not to mention, I am assuming you look at vehicles, apparatuses, those things as well. We already know our vehicles and apparatuses are in disrepair. We already know they need replaced. So essentially, we're gonna pay somebody to come in, tell us things that we already know on that point. Why not use that money to go towards an apparatus?
Well, again, to that point, $100,000 is a good investment, but it's not just specific to one of the disciplines. It's spread across all three disciplines, police, fire, and EMS. And to go a layer deeper, it's not just about knowing the replacement cycles of our apparatus and vehicles and equipment. Certainly, we're very capable of determining those now. I would say the value is that Tom and his team would be looking to make sure that we have the right vehicles and equipment and apparatus. Again, I don't want to dive too deep into it, but Chief Hurt and I are having some conversations about a piece of equipment or an apparatus we have now that may not perfectly suit our needs, that could have been something else, right? So I would say it's deeper than just the replacement cycles. We certainly can develop those on our own, but it's making sure that we have the right vehicles, the right equipment, and the right apparatus to meet our operational needs.
I think another thing to throw into the mix is how our community's changing.
Mhm.
Not the too far future.
And one of the things I want to call out to that, because I think this is probably a lesser known and maybe a forgotten point, but as part of Tom's team, they actually have a data lead that's assigned to this. So an individual with a PhD who specializes in data analytics and members of their team who specialize in GIS and mapping capabilities. So they're well covered in the calls and future projections and really the analytics side of it as well.
And Tom, if I understood you right, you talked about some of the outcomes will drive policy. So whether it's equipment, staffing, those types of things, it's still gonna be in the council's purview then to take all the data that you can provide and the recommendations with the expertise you all bring that doesn't sit around this table that can help drive some of that policy. Is that correct? Thank you.
And Jake or Tom, I don't wanna ignore Mr. May's stuff from earlier. Will animal control get looked at too? I would guess so, but I mean, for the sake of Mike bringing it up tonight, how we handle that in comparison.
I'll let Tom talk about it.
I didn't know who'd be appropriate.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'll just say, I'll reiterate a point that Tom said earlier. It is no stone unturned, right? It is a deep dive and it is all of the functions. And he uses the term discrete, both today and in his proposal. So it is everything. So to me, that would include animal control if that's one of the functions, which it is, of police. So Tom, I'll let you kind of go from there.
I had a very lengthy meeting with State Representative Bowden on a wide range of topics, but public safety was one of them several months ago, and to be continued, because there are lots of things changing, and they're always looking at bills, and tax reform's one of them, and we have been forced to do more with less, and looking at what services we can cut in order to still provide the essential services. I do have a question on how you tap into the more local. I noticed that the people on your team were mostly from California, North Carolina, and I think Texas. How do you maybe utilize some of the resources that you have used more locally to us, or do you? Yes, and townships are one of the things on our list, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess he's probably gonna look at that. Melissa, you made a good point here a little bit earlier too, that I just kind of want to expand on a little bit. We've got a fair amount of measured growth, and I had a long conversation with Jake and some staff this week, or last week rather. You know, if you take a look at the photographs we've got around the City Hall of 1939, 1989, I think it was 2002, and where we've grown, and if you look at where our commercial and some of our residential growth is, I don't think we can avoid, personally, this is my personal opinion, I'm sorry for injecting that here in the moment, but I'm not sure we can't let this go, I don't think, because we've got population growth, we've got to look at location of facilities, I'm guessing that's one of your major things as well. To your point about townships and how they pay for those kinds of things, and I don't think, if I understand everything correctly, it's not just looking at staffing, but how that staffing is utilized, not necessarily cutting or growing, it's how we utilize that and how to best utilize that to get cost savings for not only for the city, but also savings for the staff members and less running here or there or having to do certain things. And we know that that's an issue too with some of our fire facilities. And, you know, the point I want to make here is that we are growing north with our commercial growth. We've grown in different areas with our residential growth. You know, we can guess at all kinds of things. We can guess, well, it should be here, or it needs to be here, or we need to have a police substation over here. We can guess at those kinds of things, but, you know, we hired Jake because he's data-driven. I mean, that was one of the things we all talked about, you know, and how, you know, drive the data, policy-driven, those kinds of things. And folks, I think it's money well spent. I understand where you all coming from, but we also have to understand that we are growing to a point where we've got to make some of these decisions based on, just on data, not like we used to make in some cases. I've been on the council a couple different times. You have all heard that sometimes the decisions were made because of emotion or because what seemed to be the answer, not data. And so I think it's really incumbent upon us to have that data. I understand the cost. I understand all of these things. But what percentage did you say it was, Jake?
1.25% of the annual public safety budget. So I don't want to set the bar too low, but at the end of the day, if we utilize this study and we get 1% better, this study would pay for itself within 1 year, and those are ongoing savings that we would recognize. I'll certainly set the bar a little bit higher for Tom than that, but I think it's an attainable goal.
Listen, I appreciate all your comments, and I really do believe it's okay, I said many times, to disagree on things, and I appreciate the civil conversation. But I think we just have to figure out a good way to move this forward, and we don't have any other further questions. Maybe you do, and if you do, I'll let you go with those, so.
I'd like to make a quick
Go right ahead.
here. So I was just doing some quick research. Fiscal year 2024, our public safety costs were 8.8 million. If you want to look at pure cities, at that same time, Norwalk was 6.3 million. So we're 28% higher than Norwalk. Grimes is 7.3 million, so we're $1 million. We're 1.5 million higher than Grimes. So I agree with you, Steve. I think we need the data so that we can make informed decisions on how to move forward.
Any other comments?
I absolutely agree that we're headed in the right direction with this. My only question is, how many companies do things like this? And have we looked at other companies?
There are certainly other companies out there, other firms out there that do this. Frankly, we referenced doing these studies in the past, so we've used different firms out there. And I think Tom even alluded to it at the top of the discussion, is that there are different ones out there. There may be ones that are even cheaper. But the reason, I brought forward and recommended CPSM is a couple of fold. Their level of talent and expertise is going to be one that you're not going to be able to find. More often than not, they're maybe going to have, primarily one former chief. They may have a couple of former chiefs. As Tom mentioned, they've got 33 subject matter experts on both sides that have the title of chief or deputy chief in varying sizes organizations. So to me, I don't know that we would probably legally be able to call them a sole source provider, but they're in a very different level. But at the end of the day, with the fee being very transparent, right, about that 100,000, could we go out and find someone to do a similar study for 70,000, 80,000? We certainly could, but it goes back to Councilmember Beach's point. I wouldn't view that as money well spent. I would rather see us invest probably a little extra, tens of thousands more to get something high quality, to get a partner that's going to continue to serve the Indianola for future members of the organization. So to me, it's really it's an investment. It's a one-time strategic investment, and it's partnering with a very high-quality firm in an area that is of critical importance. At the end of the day, I think we will all agree that public safety is one of, if not the most important services that we provide to this community. And I don't want to make the mistake of the past of doing a study, again, as Tom said, doing a study for the sake of doing the study. That's not what this is. This is to utilize the recommendations, and it's to really put our faith in a group that is proven with an immense amount of talent to make meaningful changes.
One of my jobs is to make sure that we are spending money wisely and choosing the best person for the job. And so I appreciate you elaborating on that for the public to hear. You've walked through all that with me before, but I appreciate you going into detail on that. So thank you.
There are no further comments. Josh, you have any comments?
No, I'm still good. Appreciate the discussion.
I will have the clerk call the roll then.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Rabe.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Beach.
Nay.
Sones.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-1. Looks like you got yourself a job, Tom.
All right. Look forward to meeting all of you when we're out in Indianola.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Second item under new business is a resolution authorizing the City of Indianola to enter into an engagement with MGT Impact Solutions for an organizational staffing assessment. Motion and second.
Moved.
Jake, this is you, I guess.
The organizational staffing assessment would be completed in partnership with MGT, a nationally recognized leader in public sector management consulting. The organizational staffing assessment is anticipated to span approximately 2 months and will deliver a comprehensive, data-informed evaluation of the city's non-public safety departments. Indianola staffing levels will be benchmarked against 6 peer communities: Altoona, Pella, Newton, Pleasant Hill, Grimes, and Norwalk, selected through a structured scoring methodology that considered key indicators such as population size, median household income, total assessed valuation, property tax revenue, overall expenditures, and geographic proximity to Indianola. The final deliverable will be a single integrated report summarizing key findings and actionable recommendations. It will include staffing data tables and visualizations, comparative analysis with peer communities, department-specific observations, contextual input from staff, as well as leadership. Personnel expenses total just over 74% or $10.7 million of the FY26 general fund budget. The one-time total investment of approximately $115,000, which takes into account the CPSM and the MGT studies, represents the equivalent of approximately 1% of the city's annual personnel expenses. This investment will support operational efficiency and effectiveness through a data, best practices, and industry standards-driven approach. In consideration of the previous item, the MGT and CPSM studies will provide a comprehensive, organization-wide overview of staffing needs, operational efficiency, and strategic alignment. The fee to complete the organizational staffing assessment is $12,544, which will be funded primarily through operational savings and the rest made up by reserves. This amount will be covered within the FY26 budget and will not require the use of any additional reserves. The timing is advantageous as any efficiencies could be incorporated into the FY27 budget process. Staff recommends approval, and I will stand for any questions.
Discussion.
Why is this one, why is this one such a significant decrease from the previous one? And are they actually going to physically come here, spend time in the departments?
No, so 2 points. This one would actually be entirely remote. The primary benefit of this study is going to be the benchmarking against peer communities. So as I mentioned, there would be the 6 different communities that this organization or this MGT would benchmark against. They would do a deeper dive within 2 departments where they would handle some interviews. They would spend some time diving a little bit deeper into those departments. But ultimately, they would do that based on Zoom interviews and things of that nature. So this is more of a peer-to-peer community analysis. And then as we receive the results of this with their initial recommendations, this would require a little bit deeper dive on us. So this is more of a true staffing analysis as opposed to an operational assessment. So the lower fee really represents a much higher level of data collection, as opposed to doing the deeper dive as was just approved on the previous item.
So I guess my question would be, why not do the deeper dive?
Well, at some point the budget is a consideration, and I also think that the spending the more on the public safety really comes down to a few reasons. So again, going back to the previous item, as I mentioned, public safety is one of, if not the most important services that we provide to the community. Public safety is highly specialized. That's just one that, me as a generalist, I've got a better understanding of the majority of the other departments, and working in conjunction with those department heads, those staffing decisions end up being a little bit more straightforward. There's much more nuances and technicalities and industry standards to take into consideration with public safety. At the end of the day, public safety is also our greatest expense when it comes to the general fund, making up 55% of the total general fund budget. So again, as it was brought up the other one, I do want to be budget conscious at the end of the day. We certainly could always spend more, but part of this I also want to touch on is that this $12,500 does account for them to take a deeper dive into 2 departments of our choosing, depending on and I would call that a little bit of a pilot for us. If we end up seeing value in that deeper dive and it ends up being beneficial to the department heads and myself, that may be something we consider for other departments in the future. But for right now, just having that higher level data was deemed to be most advantageous at this time.
For me, I think that if we're gonna pay to do such a deep dive into public safety, that we should be doing a deep dive into every single department and not just two random departments that we're picking. I'm not referring to PD, fire, EMS, I'm referring to the two that you were mentioning.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think that if we're going to go that far, then we should do the entire staffing.
Do we know the cost? We would wanted them to do,
Yeah, it's $225 an hour, and I want to say it's 10 hours per department to do a deeper dive. And that is not as deep of a dive as they can do. It's kind of their mid dive, if you will. So it'd be an extra $22.50 per department, and we'd have at least 7-ish more departments to do. So conservatively, you probably tack on an additional 20,000 to the 12 if we were to take a deeper dive into all of them. And that is something we could do at any time in the future. And again, that's why I go back to, I really just wanted to kind of test the waters a little bit to see if we find the value going that next layer deeper before we would commit ourselves to investing further.
you don't have to say what departments they are, but do you have in mind
Oh,
the two?
one of the things I asked the consultant is that could we wait to pick the two departments after we see their initial data analysis? And the reason I ask that question is that if we see a significant discrepancy in one or two departments compared to our peers, I wanted to take that into consideration of doing a deeper dive. You know, if we see, you know, in finance, we see, you know, Jackie's got 3 people and all of our peers have 3 people, that probably wouldn't be a good use of our resources because we kind of see in general we're in alignment. But hypothetically, if we get into like, say, public works, streets, we see that we have our 7 or so that are there, and all of our peers have either 4 or 10 or something on that matter, then there may be something to kind of peel back the layers of the onion. So my thought is to wait until we have the initial data, and then if we see some discrepancies where we're just an outlier, high or low for one reason, that would be a good reason to dive deeper into that department.
Sure.
By diving deeper, you mean looking into overall operational, like,
Correct. You know, what are we doing differently, or you know, what's on our staff that may not be on the other staff, or what's on them that it's not on us, or are we just, you know, woefully understaffed in one area for one reason or another?
do they review anything as far as like individual performance of the employees in those departments that are reviewed?
I don't believe they get into that level of detail of necessarily looking into the individual performance, but they would look into processes and procedures to see if there's anything that may be more efficient for us or maybe inefficient that'd be a little bit out of the norm.
I was just gonna say, thanks for providing the 6 comparables. I know some of the hangout some of us had on the past compensation study that was before my time was maybe bad comparables, just because they were close to us. So we appreciate that. And I think, you know, Councilmember Sons and I, this is kind of what we were asking for in like January of 24. So me, I think it's what we need to do to see, you know, what our staffing levels look like in comparison. So.
Well, it strikes me, the conversation we had, it was my first night sitting here when we were deciding to hire Jake, and one of the things I heard around the table, because it was all new to me, was your breadth of experience. And I think it shows here when he brings recommendation like this to us. So I support this. I think it'd be a good thing, and I appreciate the way you're going about it, where you aren't jumping off the cliff. You're gonna try and put your toe in the water first, see how things feel before we would identify the other areas that need to be looked at. So I applaud that.
As well, I think making decisions with the data behind them gives us much more credibility, and versus just doing what we think based on a few random pieces of information. It also protects us should we need you know, if we were to just randomly decide where we feel we're overstaffed and say eliminate staff, and then that's not the right move and we need to hire staff back, that puts us in a bad position. Going about it this way, we're bringing in people who are skilled at driving out the data and showing us where we have either a need for additional staff or maybe need to improve our processes. So I appreciate this. This is something I used to do, so. I think it'll be a good move for us, and it'll help staff too in the long run.
Any further comments? We've got a motion and a second on the table.
I do want to ask the same question that I asked before, in fairness. I know we've worked with MGT and it's easy to go back to them for that reason, but are there other firms that offer the same service?
Yeah, there are, you know, again, going to the specific question, the benefits of MGT, because they have past experience with the city of Indianola, and primarily because they've done our compensation study in the past, they already have all of our job descriptions and they've got a significant familiarity with us, where this is gonna be much more streamlined for them to do it. If we were to bring in another firm, they would have to collect all that data, we'd have to rehash that with them, and they'd have to essentially learn our community from scratch. So there is a time commitment with that, and an additional expense with that, of course, and frankly, additional staff burden on us for our HR folks to have to pull all that information and provide it. I've done a similar study like this with in a different community, and you know, again, just looking at the price point of this and knowing that they're actually doing the deeper dive into two of the departments that are choosing, this is in line with what I would expect expense-wise. Certainly, if this was what I would have felt is unreasonable, I would have went out and sought additional firms. But at the end of the day, kind of seeing where the price points were, having an introductory meeting with a different member of MGT to kind of explain our goals in this, and then just with the information that they already have on the city of Indianola, which frankly helped them pick our peer communities based by best match, there will be time savings and efficiencies from going this route as well.
Thank you.
When was our last staffing study?
I don't know that we've done one. We did the so I shouldn't say it that way. We've done portions of one. So we've done some of the public safety staffing studies. Those were done back in 2017, 2018. We did the compensation plan, which is separate. That was done in 2023. But for the general city departments, non-public safety, best of my knowledge, I don't think we've ever done one.
Seems like a good time to do one with our budget issues, and I mean, I don't know that it will show us staff. I don't know what it's gonna show us, but hopefully it will show us efficiencies.
Well, and that's the beauty of the data, right? It tells a story. Hopefully we get to interpret that story.
So there's no further questions. Going once, going twice. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Beach.
Aye.
Sones.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Discussion direction regarding the Indianola Wellness Campus Group exercise instructor and personal trainer position. Is that you, Mr. Byland?
Come on.
Yeah, thanks, Council and Mayor. Doug Byland, Chief of Culture and Recreation. This is to add part-time group instructors and personal trainer options so we can provide more services to the community, especially trying to increase more family memberships at the IWC. So these are already budgeted expenses, give us opportunity to make more revenue, provide more programs, so.
So you already have budgeted to add these two staff? were these staff members that we've had.
No. We're budgeted a certain amount of hours for personal trainers, for Group X instructors. We haven't met that right now. So I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, I'm sorry, but we plan for a certain amount of hours throughout the year, and this will help us get to there.
I think if I might just add, I think
Yeah.
probably everyone got it by now, but I think just to point out is that Doug in this area is not necessarily budgeting for a set number of people, he's budgeting to a certain number of hours. So he would just limit the staff hours to align with the budgetary dollars that are available.
We're not getting there with the people that we have on staff currently.
Any further questions? Clerk, call the roll, please.
There's no, it's
Oh,
just
it's just
direction,
direction.
please. Uh-huh.
Sorry,
Plus that
I'm getting so excited here. All right. City manager's report. You got 4 minutes, otherwise we're gonna take a vote. We got a closed session here too, so we're gonna have to take a vote to see if we go past an hour and a half per our policy.
Do
So
we need to give Doug our direction?
Doug's got his direction, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Everybody okay? Okay, got your direction.
All right, I'm on the clock. City attorney, the city contracts for legal services with the Brick Gentry Law Firm. After a meet and greet last week, Allison Studerman will provide city attorney services for city council meetings going forward following the retirement of Doug Fulton last month. Congratulations, Allison.
Thank you very much.
Wonder on Buxton, the 4 remaining sculptures are scheduled to be delivered and installed on Monday, September 8th. These will represent the final 4 themes developed through the public input process. Those themes are the Warren County Fair, music, balloons, and the history of Warren County. More information can be found on the Experience Indianola website. Temporary no parking will be placed around the 4 sites to accommodate the deliveries. Bob Kling will be resigning from the Public Arts Commission after the September 25th Indianola Public Arts Commission meeting. Bob joined the Indianola Fine Arts Commission in 1986, helped coordinate the Indianola Arts Festival and the recent Illuminate Indianola mural project. Please join us in thanking Bob for his dedication to the Public Arts Commission. A reception will be held at the Brick House Tavern starting at 7 p.m. on September 25th to honor Bob. Study sessions. We are going to move study sessions to the second Monday of the month, so they'll no longer coincide within a different council meeting. There'll be a standalone council meeting. Our first one under this new format will be held next Monday at 6 p.m. and our topic will be property tax abatement. We are excited to learn this week that Indianola will be on the 2026 Disc Golf Pro Tour calendar. The Disc Mania Challenge will be held August 7th through the 9th, 2026 at Pickard Park. So we're very excited to have those folks coming back and joining us again for another year. Lastly, Porch Fest will be held on September 28th. Porch Fest is a free community event connecting residents to local musicians performing on front porches. If you'd like more information and would like to participate, visit the city's website for more information.
Okay, my question to staff is, our policy says that council meetings will last no more than an hour and a half. We have not followed that. We're trying to get back into that habit. In order to move forward, we need approval by 5 of the 6, I believe, council members, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a super majority. So Allison, what is a super majority for us?
Supermajority would be 5 of the 6,
All right,
unless someone is recused for a conflict of interest.
okay.
We're not voting though, so it should be okay, right?
Yeah.
Yep, you're fine.
So, Mr. Rabe, are you okay with that?
Yep.
Ron?
Yes.
Steve?
Of course I am.
Christina? Yes? Everybody's yes? All right. So we get to move forward then. All right. Any future agenda items? I think you covered those in your report. I think the tax abatement will be on the second meeting in September. Is that correct? For
On Monday.
It'll be next
No, I
Monday.
know, it's a study session, but if we move forward with that, it'll be on the second meeting in
Potentially, yeah.
September. Is that correct?
We would have to see what
Yeah.
the
What the actual
direction is
direction
and
is,
how
yeah.
complicated
Okay.
it's pulled together,
Okay.
because we would only have a few days to get that packet. put
Okay, all right,
Can I ask a question about
Yes.
Monday?
yes.
Because I'm sure some people might ask, will we have any public comment at the study session for people to talk if they want to? Because that might
We
get
don't-
brought up. I don't think we do, but in case people ask.
Would the council have the ability to decide if they want public comment?
They would have, if they decide that they want to have public comment, they just need to make sure that it is posted within. Yes.
Well, to further confuse it, it used to be that public could make comments as long as the mayor or council approved it, like you just said. We used to do that a long time ago, but I believe in the most recent future, that's not been the case, so. But I guess it'd be a decision we talk about at that point in time. But right now, as of now, it's not been any public comments, that's been the policy.
I just wanted to check in case people ask.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
if that sways them from not coming or coming.
Right.
I don't think I mean, Mayor, I don't believe that it is the norm to have public
Right.
comment at study session. I'm just saying that I don't think that there's a prohibition against it as long as it's included.
But it would have to be recognized by. Okay.
I do have a hard stop that night at 7:30.
Hard stop, okay, fine. Okay, we are going to enter into closed session according to Iowa Code Section 2151J to discuss the purchase or sale of particular real estate only where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price the governmental body would have to pay for that property or reduce the price the governmental body would receive for that property. I need a motion and a second and a vote here. So moved. Have a motion?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Clerk call the roll, please.
Councilmember Beach,
Aye.
Solms,
Aye.
Lane,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Dalby, Armstrong.
We'll take about a 5 minute, well, let's go here in about 4 minutes. So if you need to run, take a short break, we can do that.